Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast, where each week we bring you valuable insight and information that directly affects our local business community. I'm Danielle Hawley, and I'm the executive director of the best Chamber of Commerce around the Fontana Chamber of Commerce. And I'm proud to bring you our Talk of the Town podcast with my awesome co-host, Mr. Carlos Garcia of FYI Technologies. Hey, Carlos.
Hey, Danielle. Glad to be here.
Thanks for being here, my friend. Well, we are so excited. We have a very special guest today. We have Mr. Daniel Reid, who is not only our VP Senior Relationship Manager with American Business Bank, but he is a Fontana Chamber of Commerce board member. Daniel, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you. So we just wanted to jump in. And we appreciate you taking time to be here with us today. Tell us about yourself and your role at American Business Bank.
Sure. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm a banker, which sometimes has a negative connotation, but I can tell you when it comes to what I do and what I've done for many years, it's a very exciting and resourceful business. So I'm a commercial banker. I've been doing this, believe it or not, for over 40 years. And business, my commercial title means that I work with businesses. I'm a commercial business banker. So I work with small to mid-sized companies, locally headquartered and privately owned, all throughout the Inland Empire, actually all over Southern California. And I fit into a really great little niche within American Business Bank. We're a boutique bank. Most, in fact, companies haven't heard of us, and that's kind of intentional. We serve the middle market. We serve small to mid-sized companies like I described, and we provide extremely high-level white glove service, kind of old school traditional banking that many people don't experience anymore because of automation and AI and things like that. We are real people dealing with our clients, providing resources, providing advice, and of course, products and services, but overall, really just being good partners.
Well, I can attest to that because we have one of our main accounts with American Business Bank, of course, here at the Chamber. And your team is so helpful. And I have a personal line that I can call, and I talk to a person, not a robot, not some automated thing. And sometimes, you just have all those questions, and they're so gracious and kind, and will always find the answer and always help me out. So I appreciate the relationship and the care that we get here at the Fontana Chamber. So I speak very highly of ABB. We love you guys and appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Daniel, I've got a side question to that. How many branches do you guys have? And if you do, in which cities do you guys have some?
Yeah, so we're only in Southern California. Our headquarters office is in downtown LA. We have 7 other offices all around Southern California, 2 here in the IE, just on the street, one of them where I'm at, and then another one down in Corona. And then South Bay, San Gabriel Valley, San Gabriel Valley and the San Fernando Valley, Orange County, we've got a couple offices. So one's starting to pop up in San Diego. So we may have to, And so like I said, altogether 8 offices.
Awesome. Well, we need you a little bit further west, man. Just hang
right.
For sure. Have an office there.
Yeah.
So
Hawaii.
Tell us. Yeah, there you go. Right.
So
tell us, how long have you been a member of the Chamber as well as a board of directors?
Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. So member of the Chamber has been actually 15 years this year. So wow. I started in 2009 when I moved here into the city to serve the business community here. And then a few years later, so it's been 12 years that I've been a board member.
Wow. Now, you came in today to the office with a very old brochure. We were laughing about it. We're like, oh my gosh, this thing has to be like circa 2000, 1999. I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
But obviously the Chamber has undergone a lot of changes since then, which we'll get into in a second. But what does it mean to be a Chamber board member?
Yeah, well, I think let me start by making an unequivocal comment, and that is the Fontana Chamber Board of Directors is the best Chamber Board of Directors in the area. I want to start by saying that. and it's true. And I'll say the reason, answering your question, the reason it is because this board is uniquely comprised of strategic and influential business leaders in the area throughout Montana and in the adjacent cities. And it's that group of business people that come around the table and focus on what we need to do to serve the business community and make this chamber stronger and stronger for the business community. So it is very unique and very special in that there's real business people that run their day-to-day businesses. These businesses in total, I'm not sure if I'm exactly right, but I'd say that the board members that own these businesses all together probably represent close to $1 billion, if not over $1 billion in total revenues. It's a substantial group of people, men and women that again are running businesses, signing the front side of the check, and making strategic decisions for their businesses, and dedicated to doing the same for the chamber.
I love that, signing the front side of the check. Yes, no, and that's true. And I think, we talk about this a lot at our board meetings, and we reflect back on where we've come from. And even just seeing that brochure that you brought in today was very reminiscent of the old days, of the chamber, and really just that progress that has been made over the last decade or so to really shift intentionality on who's sitting around the table. Do we have the right people in the right seats, the decision makers? Because the city of Fontana is growing, our business community is growing exponentially. We are the center of supply chain, manufacturing. I mean, it's all happening here in Fontana. So representing that large, diverse demographic requires the right people at the table. And I think, can you expand a little bit on that, on kind of that transition to the model that we have now from the old way of thinking?
Yeah, sure. So we, like you said, about a decade ago, we recognized that we should represent what this city's really all about. And yes, we have a variety of diverse businesses throughout the city, small to large to very large. And we felt that we had been somewhat, I hate to say not ignoring, but just not focusing on the industrial core that's here in Fontana. And there's other cities throughout Southern California that have made it a point to say, hey, it is who we are. We are an industrial location city, and we of course embrace all of our members, and we enthusiastic about caring for all of our members across the board. But at the same time, we've got this powerhouse industrial base, which is made up of logistics companies, distribution, manufacturers. We all know how powerful the city is because of that base of businesses and business people. The employment it drives, the revenues it drives are all really pretty much unique to Fontana. So we decided, again, 10 years ago or more, that we would shift our focus, not our model, our mission to serve all businesses, but our focus on making sure that we are addressing those businesses as well, those large industrial businesses, making sure they're becoming members, because so many of them were under the radar, didn't know anything about the city or the city staff, and we wanted to make sure we made that connection. So we started that focus. We started doing events at the Speedway, inviting those industrial commercial businesses to join us, to get to know the chamber, and that grew into this large pool of businesses that now love the fact that they don't have to hire an outside consultant to figure out what's going on in the city. They have the chamber as a resource and an advocate to be able to take care of their needs.
I love it. And that's our mission statement. We serve as the advocate, voice, and resource to our local business community. We've been doing it since 1914. We are in our 110th year. And I think that obviously, through the decades, each subsequent, people in leadership, group of folks that were leading the chamber has, laid the foundation to continue to build and build and build. And I just see huge yield and huge results from those decisions that you guys made, a decade ago that really leveled us up. I mean, I feel like it put us into just this top tier status to really adequately serve our business community and those that we're representing, from our small home-based businesses, like you mentioned, to our large industrial manufacturing community partner folks. So it's good. And I love that. Our board is so proactive and so future minded. And sometimes I think we can get stuck in the past, right? Like, oh, well, we've always done it this way, so we're going to continue to do that this way. And I can attest to the fact, being around for as long as I have, and just seeing that evolution of the Chamber of Commerce, that our board is cognizant of what's coming. They're aware of the market now, but you guys are always looking to the future and always trying to be better. I love that. And we're not okay with just where we're at now. It's like, okay, where are we going in the next 5 years? Which is why I absolutely love my job here and working with the board, because you guys are so supportive. But you are future minded, and I appreciate that, because I'm a big picture, future minded thinking person. And so it's great when I run ideas past you guys. Hey, can we try this? Hey, can we launch a podcast? But the board is always so supportive and understanding that if we're going to continue growing as we have to keep up with what's relevant and what's happening, and reach our community where they're at. So I wanted to say thank you for just being just such a great member of the board, but being supportive of just everything that we're doing here. I never feel that our board isn't open-minded. I think you guys are just so supportive. So that's just my little 2 cents, but
That's great. And Daniel, as we're talking about businesses, can you share with us, like, what are the trends, issues that you've seen in the financial industry? We're kind of going through this whole economic change right now, but I want to know exactly, like, what is directly impacting our business community, and folks want to hear that as well too.
Well, that's a good question. And I would start by saying that I'm a banker. We have Danielle, who runs a chamber, and you're in the IT profession. We're all in different types of businesses, so are our members. But the way that we look at it at American Business Bank is that is an 80-20 rule. 80% of what all businesses do are really pretty much the same. We all have to deal with the same stuff every single day. PAGA lawsuits for labor disputes, shortage of laborers, legislative issues, supply chain issues. It goes on. The list goes on forever, right? And those are things that we all have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, regardless of what our core business is. And I think, so when you ask about the financial institution, it's really the same with, I think, many businesses, that we've got some significant challenges. Of course, we know as we've all become, very, very focused on working our business through online applications, the internet. Our banking's done online. Cyber security has become a forefront issue. Cyber attacks are happening daily in our industry, and I imagine most of the people listening to this podcast have either had an experience or will, unfortunately, sometime in the near future, have an experience of an attempted cyber attack or a successful cyber attack. So that's a critical issue. And I always say, make sure as a business owner, regardless of your size, if you're doing business, you need to have a strong cyber security protocol, and that includes working with your IT firm. And I know I'm stealing your thunder, Carlos, but it really goes without saying that you need to make sure you use the tools available to make sure that you're not keeping the door open to the criminals that are just very, very happy and quick to steal your money and even take your business out of business. So the bank has several tools to help clients do that. Very, very strong tools that prevent fraud, and especially when it comes to check and debit fraud. But again, the industries that we all are involved with, there's a lot of resources there, and I think everyone should focus on that. Making sure you have cyber insurance. If you don't have that, talk to your insurance professional about it. But as I mentioned, labor is another thing that comes up frequently. I think labor shortages. The chamber does a really good job of workforce support. So if you're not able to find somebody, you need to reach out to Daniel, reach out to Cindy, and ask for the chamber's help, because we have that connection with the marketplace. People that are seeking jobs, the right candidates are here, and we can help people. And sometimes that's lost by tapping into a large portal that doesn't know you like we do. So that's all I think applicable. And then lastly, I will focus on banking, finance. I have to tell everyone, interest rates are up again, right? Have been up now for a couple of years. Remember, I would just pause by saying, or posture this by saying that if you've been around in this business for 40 years like I have, you know that today rates are not historically high. They're still considered moderate, although compared to where they were a couple of years ago or even a year ago, it's painful. We all recognize that. So we are now starting to see some rates ebb. Just this morning, they announced about a 0.25% reduction in long-term mortgage rates. So that's positive for everyone in the community and every business. As that occurs, we'll see less costs for financing, capital expenditures. But you do want to focus on what the Fed is saying, focus on what the market is doing, because that's going to drive your ability to basically, obtain capital.
Right. Thank you.
Very insightful. And I wish we all had a crystal ball, right? Because I feel like we have this conversation all the time. We always ask you, Daniel, what's going on? Because we hear this, and I feel like, you open your phone or you see news media, and I think we have this conversation all the time. It's like, are we in a recession? We ask that every board meeting. Okay, are we in a recession? What's happening? Because I know here locally, and looking at our jobs numbers and everything, and just what we're seeing, it speaks contrary to that. And so I know, at least in our region, we seem to be doing fairly well. The city of Fontana, and just to touch on that real quick, and I don't know if you folks that are listening knew this or not, but the tax revenue that the city is able to generate through our large industrial base, our Southwest Industrial Park, and all of the businesses that are here have sustained the city. So during COVID, they didn't lay one person off. We didn't shut down one thing. So we're okay here. So I think that to highlight the importance of having a strong board of directors, right? Just from a chamber point of view and from the business community point of view, having a great relationship with your local elected officials and being involved with elections, right? Elections are important. You need to have business friendly candidates and elected officials leading your region that are pro-business, right? And I think that that's what we see here. So we might be an anomaly in our region. I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
I think we are an anomaly. I think what you described should be at the forefront of what a chamber does. And I think the Fontana Chamber has done a very good job of making sure that we're not only aware of and following, not only legislation that's been approved, but things that go into committee, things that are pending to being discussed that will affect our business community. And as you mentioned, we're a voice and a resource. So that legislative activity and focus is ultimately trickles right back down to the business community and how they fare in the marketplace, making sure that there is that the electeds know what businesses want, what businesses think is important, and making sure that influence that the chamber wields is used to gain those benefits for the business community.
Mm-hmm.
And Danielle, I'm going to add also that Fontana, you the chamber as well, you guys have set the bar really high in the pro-business community, right? The fact that you guys are able to stay open, not lay anybody off, it's a huge message of the right way you guys are doing things too. And I think a lot of folks listening or the cities that are listening should take notice of that. So in case, if and when that ever happens again, we'll be in a better spot than get caught unexpected, So I think that's huge kudos to you guys and leadership as well too.
Mm. Thank you. And we have an amazing mayor and council and great relationship with them on the side of the chamber. But I think it just comes back to being business friendly, right? It's like when we're vetting candidates, because the chamber, like you mentioned, Daniel, we're very active in terms of our advocacy. We are staying on top of, we call them the job killer bills. And if we need to put phone calls in or sign on to a letter of opposition, we do that. I mean, I think a lot of chambers do that. But we are, have a staff person dedicated to tracking all of those. We've even taken trips to Sacramento with some of our board members ahead of the start of the legislative session to just, get in front of them. And I think it's different when they hear from a person, right? And not that, a letter or a phone call is impersonal, but when you have, your state senator sitting across from 4 business owners, big decision makers in their office, and really having that heart-to-heart conversation, we've seen huge success with that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's huge too. It's people sometimes tend to get very complacent, right? Because they expect someone else to do things for them. And the fact that you have, involved board members, the chamber being involved, the city being involved, we have to hold our legislators accountable and making sure that also your voice as a business owner is heard too. And I think people sometimes think that doesn't matter, but it makes a huge difference, especially coming from a business owner too.
Well, I'll tell you right now, we are not slowing down. It's an election year. We are ramping up our efforts, maintaining all of our advocacy efforts, even locally. So, everything coming down state level down that impacts us, but locally. And so we've, the chamber is very involved politically. We have chamber endorsed candidates. So if you're listening, as we head into the election season, you'll notice that we'll be nominating our candidates at our various events. And then we'll have a voter guide as well. And then we also collect ballots here. So I think that's another thing that kind of sets us apart in terms of, what other cities might be, or other chambers are doing. But again, it just comes down to being active and involved, and there's importance there. And if we say it's important, and we show that, then our community will respond to that. But again, I have to say that it's from the leadership of our board, and really grasping that and the importance of that is what's allowed us to be so strategic and so successful. As we wrap up, Daniel, are there any resources, events, anything happening from ABB that would benefit our business community that you want to share with them?
We do. We routinely have events, and we make that available to the community. And I'll, of course, continue to work with the chamber to let you know when those come. But they cover a wide variety of topics. Resources, our old school approach is that each banker at ABB is experienced, knowledgeable, and very well connected. So what resources we offer is really when somebody needs something in the community and they're working with the chamber and there's some other resource needed, whether it's an accounting resource or IT or insurance or just consulting needs. I have a pool of very successful and very reliable resources, people in the market that serve businesses, like businesses, and I'm more than happy to help identify and make those introductions. And then lastly, I'd say that we're, as a bank and as bankers, we're very focused on supporting small to mid-sized businesses, especially those that are emerging. And one thing we've recently been in the process of doing, and we're getting close to launching, is we've been working hand in hand with the city of Fontana to fund a revolving loan fund, which will help businesses in the Fontana area, or they're wanting to move into the Fontana area, especially the downtown area, will help provide capital, working capital and capital expenditure financing for companies to expand in Fontana. We're excited about providing that support and being part of that.
That's huge. That is a game changer. And especially with the downtown revitalization plan and all the new development that's coming there, I love it. And again, that's proactive thinking, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you. Thank you for your wisdom and insight. And this is something that we've tried to do here on our podcast, because I think that people think our board of directors is this mysterious group, and you're not. And you guys are so amazing. And, just the leadership, the insight, the knowledge that you bring to the table, it shows, because our chamber is thriving. So thank you so much for your time, for joining us today and sharing a little bit about what you do and some of our chamber's history, but really just bringing that into the forefront so our listeners can feel like they get to know our board of directors a little more. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure to go through the dialogue and to represent the board.
Awesome. Well, you did a great job. Thank you to everyone listening. That's going to wrap up this week's episode. But as always, our episodes come out every Tuesday at 10 a.m. So you don't want to miss an episode. If you have missed an episode, that's okay. We are on all major streaming platforms as well as YouTube. So you can listen to us while you're in the car, driving, working out on the treadmill, whatever you're doing, or you can watch our show on YouTube. But thank you again, Carlos. Thank you so much for just making it happen. You're my tech guy.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
I appreciate you. But that will wrap up this week's Talk of the Town. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you, Daniel.